Hi, Stephen from owner Disown. Now, a smartphone has become an essential part of our lives. We often feel naked without one. But which one do you choose? Typically, you are either in the Android or Apple camp, and if you're in the former, there are so many options to choose from. Today, I'm going to look at the LG V30, which is their flagship smartphone. LG occupies third place in the US with 10% of the market, with Samsung and Apple at the top. The world market is even tougher, as the Chinese market is dominated by the likes of Huawei, Oppo, Vivo and Xiaomi. So LG is picking up the scraps. Can you believe that 344 million smartphones were sold at first quarter 2017? So the V30 costs $800, and that is about par for the course for a flagship phone these days, but it's still less than the iPhone X, Note 8 and the highly regarded Pixel 2 XL. I really like its design. It has very thin bezels, but unlike some of the Samsung phones where the screen folds over the edge, there is no worry about activating the screen with the palm of your hand. You know, it also fits nicely in the hand. Despite its 6-inch POLED display, I can still reach the far edge of its 2.97-inch girth just. Reaching the top corner is a no-go with one hand, but you know what? You can use the mini view option by swiping along the buttons at the bottom, or if you prefer, you can use the split screen option by pressing the recent button. At first, I thought it was going to be too light, as I was used to phones with extra batteries or a big case, but after a short while, you know, I just couldn't put it down. It has Gorilla Glass 5 on the front and the back, and there's a lovely bright metal trim that also seems to be coated in something to stop it getting scuffed. The V30 has also undergone shock-resistant testing to a military standard 810G. Now, I have dropped the phone a couple of times on my hard floor, and so far it has been fine. Now, granted, it only fell about 3 feet, but you know what? No matter what, you always see dollar signs when you hear that crashing sound. It also has IP68 dust and water resistant, meaning that you can swim for up to about 30 minutes, up to a depth of 1.5 meters. That's great for, if you want to take it on holiday and go to the pool. So the front of the phone is nearly all screen, but not as much as the Samsung 8 series. But it still has a massive 81% screen to body ratio. When it turns off, you are left with like a black monolith that looks pretty cool. Even better, you can configure it to have an always on display, which still has scrollable options such as memo, flashlight and music control. You know what? I really love this always on option, as you can see what the time is and what the battery percentage is at a glance, and it sips power. I saw no discernible hit on battery life. As for the battery, it is not user replaceable and has a 3,300 mAh capacity. It's just slightly bigger than the 3,200 mAh that was on the V20, and in light use I would end the day with about 40 to 50% left, but on a regular work day where I would do WhatsApp video, say for an hour, many phone calls and checking emails all the time, that would usually end the day at about 20 to 30%. Only one day did I have to activate Power Saver. I was at 6%, and that was because I was installing loads of apps. And you know, that Power Saver is really effective too. It extends the time by a good couple of hours. The 9-volt included USB-C charger offers fast charging, and indeed, even though it took 112 minutes to fully charge with the phone turned on, it gained 75% charge after only 50 minutes. And then the temperature was good too. It's only 34 degrees Celsius, so it didn't get too hot while charging. So there's no Galaxy Note 7 here. It actually has a heat pipe to remove the heat away from the processor. The back is made of aluminium with a layer of Gorilla Glass 5 and is suitable for wireless charging. Although it is smooth, I didn't find it too slippery. The edge taper is slight, as you can see here, between it and the OnePlus 5T, which I found to be very slippery. Regardless, I recommend a case to protect it. The back also is where the fingerprint reader is, and I like the position of it, and it feels very natural to use with your index finger. At first, coming from the Galaxy S7 Edge, I thought I would miss that finger home button, at the front, but I now prefer this method of it being on the back. The reader is also a power button, and it's very quick and responsive. You can also use Face ID to unlock your phone. It works fairly well in well-lit situations, but rather poor in poor lighting. Just forget it. If your phone is on a desk, you can double tap the screen and use Face ID to unlock it. One thing you will notice is LG hasn't ditched the 3.5mm headphone jack. It has an integrated 32-bit hi-fi quad DAC, making it great for use with high impedance headphones. For those preferring wireless headphones, the V30 supports Qualcomm's aptX HD Bluetooth codec, which vastly improves traditional Bluetooth quality, and it is Bluetooth 5.0, which increases its range and speed. aptX HD supports high-resolution 24-bit 48 kHz audiophile formats, up from 16-bit. You will of course need compatible headphones such as my Sony MDR1000Xs, and that there is a single speaker on the bottom, but it does pack quite a punch at 80 decibels. And that is about as loud as many of my 17-inch laptops. The 6-inch POLED display is an 18:9 ratio and has a resolution of 2880 by 1440. I believe it's the same display that's used on the Pixel 2 XL, which I hear has a more muted colours and a bluish tint when viewed from an angle. Now, coming from the saturated look on a Samsung display, the colours are a little bit more muted, and there is perhaps a slight bluish tint when viewed at an angle, but it never bothered me at all. I've heard reports of some people getting burn-in on the Pixel 2 XL display, but I've read that long-term use of the V30 doesn't exhibit the same problem, and I've had it a week and it still looks great. It is also nice and bright. Using the same light meter I use on my laptop tests, I measured 611 lux versus the 235 on the Razer phone and 513 on my S7 Edge. And auto brightness works great too. Powering this thing is an 8-core Snapdragon 835. It has 4 cores clocked at 1.9 GHz and 4 at 2.45 GHz. Now, coming from my S7 Edge and the Snapdragon 820, this phone just powers on. Nothing seems to slow it down. Interestingly, even though it has 4 GB of RAM, some flagships have 6 or 8. It actually only maxed it out at 3.3 GB, despite me loading this thing up to the gills. The V30 comes with 64 GB of internal storage, which can be expanded via micro SD card. And if you go for the V30 Plus, that has 128 GB of internal storage. Now, I downloaded enough videos and photos to the internal storage to leave 1 GB left. I installed 49 apps and opened them all and had 30 web tabs open. This is what it looks like flipping around screens, and it doesn't miss a beat. My S7 ground to a crawl. Now, whether that was caused by Samsung's TouchWiz or updates, but I was very, very happy with the V30's performance. Here are the results of the Geekbench 4 and 3D Mark Slingshot, before and after I loaded all my junk on it. Geekbench, multi-score of 6,449 when fresh and 6,100 when fully loaded. The 3D Mark score also reduced from 3,569 to 3,342, but I'd have to say there appears to be no slowdown. You will notice that its results are slower than the Razer phone, and I believe LG downclocks it to preserve battery life, which I think, to be fair, is a decent trade-off. The Adreno 540 graphics, as expected, plows through mobile games with ease. The software is fine, and they give you a number of themes to choose from, and I like the optional floating bar that you can use for various shortcuts like screen capture or media control. Being a content creator, a good camera is a must. I look for good audio and bright, clear video for when I do my overhead shots, when I'm doing my unboxing videos. I also needed some good automatic focusing, and I need it to change quickly, which it does. The ability to do 4K is a must because I'm wanting to go in that direction as well. As for photos, I need a good auto mode, quick to focus, quick and easy to take. A good flash is also important, and I don't want images to be dark. No, I don't want them to have like a blue cast to them. The V30 performs very well. It has 2 dual rear cameras that sit flush with the back, so no phone wobble or fear of it being scratched. One lens is f1.6 16 megapixel when shooting in 4:3 aspect ratio, or 12 megapixel when shooting in 16:9. The pixel size is 1 micrometer, and it has a 10-bit HDR image sensor that captures up to 211% more colors for improved accuracy. It has both optical image stabilization and electrical image stabilization. The second rear lens is a 13 megapixel wide angle f1.9 with a 120 degree field of view. This is very useful, and you can see how much extra footage you can capture. There is a slight barrel effect in photos, but I think it is great. It's a good option to have, and I would choose this over a 2x zoom any day. It works well in video mode too, and it's easy to switch between the two on the fly. I found colours to be accurate, and to help in those darker shots, there is a slider that brightens the image. What sets this phone apart from others? It's Pro modes. In manual mode, you can alter the white balance, manually focus, check the exposure value, focus peaking, and the ability to change the ISO and shutter speed. There's also the ability to shoot log footage. This is called CineLog. This lets you shoot a flat image, which allows you to get more detail in the shadows and highlights in post-production. Other modes I liked were the Snap Movie, which allows you to record little clips of a video and automatically add them into a 1-minute montage. There's also the ability to point zoom. Now this is good. You can press on the screen the area where you want to zoom to, and it will focus onto that point rather than focusing in the center. Now the only thing with this is that if you decide to switch to a different point to zoom to, you need to save the first shot and then do it again. For recordings, it uses 2 mics plus the phone's receiver to give clear audio. And of course I'm using the inbuilt microphones here so you can hear what it sounds like. And you can record slow-mo at 720p at 240 FPS, or do a time-lapse video so the video plays back faster than normal. Now, despite the many options, I was surprised to see there was not one for a quick and easy bokeh effect. That's the blurred background. I like to use the blurred backgrounds for my thumbnails, and my S7 Edge was great at that. You can do one using the manual mode, but it takes some time, and I found it not as good as my S7 Edge or the OnePlus 5T. It is easier to do when the background is further away from the object, so in a large room or outside, it is possible. So selfie test, microphone test, looks fairly clear on the screen. Using AutoShot, you can take a selfie with an automatic face detection, which is great. Now, call quality was top notch. Everybody thought I sounded clear, and they came through nice and loud too. Okay, the keyboard. I always feel that the keyboard is neglected, and not many people cover them in the reviews, but yet it is the main way we interact with the phone. Granted, we can install third-party keyboards on Android, but here's an excerpt of what I will use in my typing test, just to see how many mistakes I made. I made 6 mistakes, not so good. Your results may vary, of course. Well, I hope you liked my review. Appreciate your watching. Thanks again. Please remember to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.